Hi, my name is Maddie, and today we're going to talk about methods of removal for European buckthorn. So some background knowledge is where European buckthorn actually came from. It is native to Europe and most of Africa. Now it has come over to the United States and it's made itself a non-native species, which makes it invasive. People consider it a shrub or a small tree, and it was introduced to the United States by ornamental ways. So people are using it as hedgerows and like a wildlife habitat because it's so dense of a shrub. Some characteristics of the plant is that it is an understory shrub. The stems, like when you cut the stems, they have orange heartwood and yellow sapwood. I will show you a picture later. And the buds and leaves are opposite. The leaves are toothed and glossy, like on the first one. They are really veined, and they do create very shiny black berries, which are very, they're very attractive to birds. So that's how it becomes very dispersed. Now, European buckthorn is normally found in forest understories, hedgerows, thickets. It's normally around streams and lakes edges, and also on roadsides. The way that European buckthorn now gets dispersed is because birds eat the berries, and the berries actually act as laxatives for the birds, so they just kind of get spread all over, which makes it very hard to control. Some problems with it is that it's so dense that it outcompetes all the native plants in the understory, so it makes it hard for other trees to grow because there's no sunlight coming in. There also has been a study that there's more predation to songbird nests in European buckthorn than in a normal native species because there's a lot of animals coming in to get the berries and that kind of stuff. It also said that the Conservation Agency has said that the leaves are actually toxic to herbivores, so it also is making other animals sick. So my study site was the Stone Quarry Hill Art Park, and as you can see, we used a hedgerow that was very, very dense, full of European buckthorn. Like, it was all that was in there. So we chose there. For my method, so to set up, we had, to get all the supplies, I had the dining hall collect soup cans that they were using and put aside, so they gave us those. I went out and bought landscape fabric to put over one of our treatment groups. We also used Roundup, which is a herbicide. And we also used rocks that were just out in the field and in the hedgerows to put on top of the stumps. So for the treatments, our first one was the control group, which was just left alone. And the second group was the can. So we put a soup can over a stump, and then we placed a rock on top of it so that the can wouldn't blow away with like wind and weather, that kind of stuff. We painted Roundup just on top of the cut stump to see how it would do, and then we placed like a larger rock over a stump, just covering basically the entire stump to see if any light would go around it or not. So we did this in the beginning of May, and around, I think it was like the end of May, Dr. Yorks went over and checked on it to make sure nothing had been tampered with, and it seemed like it had been kind of working. And then to the rest of the collection data we did in the beginning of November. So in our first picture is the Roundup on the stump. As you can see, though, there's the orange heartwood and the yellow sapwood. The second picture is how we put the can and the rock. And the third picture is the landscape fabric. I cut squares and basically set it over the entire stump and used twist ties, like a bread tie almost, and I wrapped it around the stump so to secure the landscape fabric so it wouldn't blow off. So our final data collection was actually very interesting. Some of the cans were filled with ant holes. Like, they had a lot of weird stuff in the cans. And my second picture is also how the sprouts actually shot up from the stumps. So a lot of them did have tall sprouts out of them. Off the sides, there was a lot. So here's the data on the number of sprouts that were in each treatment group. As you can see, that Roundup did the best. There was maybe 2 stumps that actually had 1 sprout on it. The can did okay. There were some that the can was placed on the stump, but the stump kind of grew sideways, so the sprouts shot up from the sideways part. But the cans were effective. The landscape fabric and the rock were kind of not effective at all. There was no significance to them. I thought that the rock might work, but the sprouts just kind of grew up and around. And the landscape fabric, they ended up just growing out the side of the the bottom of it, not out the top. It was just out the sides of them. So, but the Roundup did well. This is the sum of the sprout heights. As you can see, it's pretty much the same. There were a lot of sprouts on the control, and the landscape and the rock. The cans and the Roundup were the ones that did the best. So, which treatment did the best? The Roundup did overall the best out of anything. The herbicide. The can was in second place. It did do what we kind of expected it to do. As you can see, even in the pictures, they had masses of stems, but they ended up dying off because they couldn't get to sunlight. The treatment group that did the worst was the rock, and that's just because there was basically nothing on it other than a rock, and the sun just got to it. If there was anything that I would change, I did see that somebody had used goats as a way of removal, which I think would be an interesting thing to add to as a treatment group, just to see how much they actually would contribute to getting rid of this invasive shrub. And then I do have 2 videos. So this one was from summer when Dr. Yorks went and checked on it. Made a little home. And then here's just the insects that were climbing around. And there's that.